So it looks like Gray Zone Warfare dropped a brand new gameplay video, and on cue, we will be bombarded with the YouTube takes on it. And so you're probably wondering, am I really so starved for info that I clicked on yet another one?
No. Well, yes.
Alright, for those of you unfamiliar with my content, I try to focus on mechanics and how these affect how we play the game while also being as concise as I can manage. If you enjoy that kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button. But if you're looking for a frame-by-frame complete breakdown of the entire 20-minute plus video, this is not it. Plenty of others will do that, and there's no sense in me adding to the pile. Now there's a lot I could cover mechanics-wise from the recent gameplay video, but there are a lot of smaller things that make for great discussions, and I'll leave that for another day. The reactions I've seen regarding this game in general, but also more so with the recent video as well, are interesting. There are two sides to this. Gray Zone Warfare is a PvE game that happens to have optional PvP, and the other is Gray Zone Warfare is a PvP game that happens to have lots of PvE along the way. And here's the problem with both takes. They're both right. And because they're both right, they don't realize they're also both half wrong. Just going off the recent video released as well as previously released info, here are some readily observable facts. Number 1. In early access, the PvE will be vanilla in many ways. The key takeaway here is that there's no separate factions engaging each other, which means the only gunshots you are going to hear are going to be from other players or at other players. Number 2. The POIs are fairly isolated from one another with multiple LZs. If the vast majority of missions take place on these POIs, the rest of the map doesn't really matter all that much. This effectively shrinks the map significantly. Number 3. On the right street, you could get line of sight all the way to the other side of the POI that we saw, and likely it wouldn't take you very long to reach the other side if no PvE was involved. But the PvE in a basic POI is pretty dense. Once the squad entered the main POI area, they barely made it 2 buildings distance-wise before encountering yet another threat. Number 4. The squad was never engaged from a direction they had previously cleared. We know that gear from a dead player stays on the map for about an hour. It would be a safe assumption that dead AI do not repopulate any faster than that, and if it does, not by much. Number 5. Compared to other extraction shooters, the PvE is significantly more threatening. Whenever the AI was allowed to have clear line of sight to the player without being actively shot, the player was hit and wounded basically immediately. Now, we never saw it get too hairy in terms of damage inflicted, but the AI showed itself to be accurate enough to demand respect. So, with all this being said, the possibility for PvP will be significant. POIs will have player squads coming and going constantly. Gunshots basically letting anyone know another team is there in the area, and as of right now, there's not a lot of reason to roam outside of these areas. So the 40+ kilometer area map is reduced down to however many POIs there are and their immediate surroundings. But let's not get that twisted. I said the possibility of PvP, not the certainty. There are also the possibility that you go hours without engaging another player. Now we don't have a complete picture of what the total map looks like. One of 8 enemy squads possibly being in the same POI as you may seem like a certainty, but between travel time, different POIs that have different missions, there is certainly a possibility you could play for hours and run into nobody. But here's a couple of very important points for those of you who are in opposite camps for the issue. For starters, there is no such thing as optional PvP. You do not have the ability to opt in or out of PvP unless you're in the PvE only server. The way Gray Zone Warfare is set up is much like the Cycle Frontier in what I like to refer to as non-consensual PvP. So long as one of the 2 squads in the area wants to fight, it's likely going to happen. In addition to all these factors, people likely not to want PvP are likely going to be in PvE servers to begin with. Again, with this being said, if you want PvP, it's not a simple matter of just chasing gunshots. If the other squad already has their objective, they can just go back the way they came while you struggle through the PvE between you. They can also just preempt the engagement while you're dealing with said PvE. The AI seems like it would be extremely difficult to deal with if you're trying to force a PvP fight. Now you could say, but the devs said they want to emphasize PvE, or the devs said they want you to encourage cooperation. There is a big difference between intending something to happen and it actually happening. For starters, these intentions do not change any of the previous observations that I've given, and given the level of freedom they are allowing the players to have, there's very few reasons to believe player interactions will not be kill on sight. Especially in early access, where the penalties of killing people within your own faction won't likely be implemented yet. Gray Zone Warfare can be both a game where you can play for hours while not running into anybody, but also be a game where you're going to get PvP'd every time you stay at a POI too long. Regardless of which you prefer, I would prepare yourself for the possibility of both outcomes. But if I had to bet which is more likely to happen as of right now, I think you know which way I'd bet. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like and subscribe button. And if you think I missed something, comment down below. Thank you for watching, and good hunting.